control and guide you, whether through an archangel who's a woman who's close to your lineage, or an archangel who's very high up, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Either God will still try to protect you as best he can. Quanta, quantum, quantum. I do quantum. That means you're probably a level quantum 39. So you're starting to learn to theorize the healing process. So sometimes you have to allow things that are not fun to happen to you when you're in a healing system, and then bounce back and modify, bounce back and modify. So basically, you're getting punched, and it's not fun, but you have to let bad things happen on occasion, or actually induce bad things to happen yourself to increase the overall efficacy of planet recovery or regional recovery. So, do the occult system, which I still boggles my mind why they did what they did, but they went from copyleft, which means open source technology, to hoarding it, which meant they were hoarding the technology. Sorry, they went from playful like competitiveness of hacking, stealing data from cryptography. So cryptography addiction, hoarding addiction, copyleft addiction, predatory physics, where they would try and attack the brain, and then into brothels, grooming gangs, and other weird stuff that involved tracking who would try and stop them, who had a big brain, and who they could trick into giving them new ideas and new technology. So they became like a vacuous parasite, and they didn't realize it until later. And when the prophets of that era tried to stop it all, a kind of a mousetrap happened, where the mouse was the prophets, and they went, and the mousetrap cracked, and instead of the prophets saving everybody like they were hoping, the occult was formed. So they found a way to kill the prophets, and they never stopped doing that. They never stopped killing people who had high emotional intelligence. So emotionally intelligent people have had to be both cryptically intelligent and emotionally intelligent to battle back all this nonsense they've developed over the years to keep people in a sort of animalistic farm, basically, where a parasite runs the farm, not a farmer. It's really gross. It's a really disgusting mindset, and I don't know why they've gone for it, but that's what they've gone for. They want to be a parasite, or a meta parasite, I call it, where they're still human, but they're serving a ideological nightmare, or an ideologue's nightmare, or an ideological nightmare, where it's completely entrapping. As soon as you join it, you're sucked into the infinite nothingness, and then they chase all those ideologies of emptiness or control or whatever, and then ultimately death is their goal for everyone, not just themselves. It's a very silly system. Leads to otic death, meaning they get addicted to something so severely, like artotic would just be smashing your ears in. So if they were addicted to music, they'd eventually just smash their ears in. They're addicted to looking at stuff, they might smash their eyes in. And a bunch of silly things like that. The body starts to do the opposite of whatever, or the same of whatever you've done. So someone will pluck their eyes out and stuff like that because they don't want to see anymore, because they've chased the darkness. So they have sort of weird otic deaths because they're so hyper addicted to some visual or spectral information across the spectrum. Yeah, very weird, demonic, atheist kind of occult behavior. Yeah, anything you just think of it, like if they're thinking too much, they want their brain to constantly think. That's usually neurotic death, but not sexual. I don't know what the word for it is, but yeah, original word was called, I think it's like near the word cerebellum. It's like something like cirrhotic death, CER or something. Something to do with the way the brain works, and you just call it that. And say like they were addicted to ideas, so they were constantly trying to think of a new big fancy idea, but they were demonic, full of sin. So their emotions are starting to break down. Their emotional wavelength is starting to break down, and it's trying to support a big brain on big silly ideas. And when your emotions shrink instead of grow underneath big ideas, you die in an otic way. Neurotic, psychotic, orthotic, gentotic, where you're addicted to like genetic worshipping genes or something like that. I don't know what that would be, but there's different ones that don't exist. We can probably put the words together for them. There's definitely neurotic. There's definitely a bunch of other ones that are weird, that are really messed up. Neurotic used to mean like the brain, like their brain was overthinking stuff, and their emotions were slowly dying because they were sinners. And away from God, of course. God can give your emotions back. That's the whole point of going to God. So basically, they wanted to live in a world where the critical mass, which is emotions, that supports